my name is James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, I wasn't going to make this video, but it got my attention, and that is that 270,000 people in the UK became property millionaires, new property millionaires during the pandemic, which is crazy. I was just reading an article over on Zoopla, and they were talking about land registry data, and obviously they've got their own data as well that shares with them that 270,000 people have become a property millionaire in the pandemic. Now, that was because there was so much pent-up demand, and at the beginning of the pandemic, I remember you probably thought this, I probably thought this, that house prices would crash. I thought we would go into a huge recession. We did temporarily go into a recession because it just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense that people were potentially going to lose all their jobs. But the government came out with some schemes that really did keep the UK thriving. So before we jump into more details on this, just quickly, this channel is all about my investment journey, but not only that, it's about my daughter's investment journey. So we've got my daughter Georgia, who's 21. We just bought a house up in Doncaster. We're just about to complete our second. I can't wait to tell you guys about that one because I've been saying it in all these videos for weeks and weeks and weeks now, but it's very close to being there. And we're building a portfolio for my little baby Amelie as well. So you can join us on the journey and see how it all goes by taking that finger of power, smashing the subscribe button and hitting the bell. That will really help. And then you'll know when the next video is out, right? So let's talk about this Zoopla article. And so what they were saying, the demand for property in the last 2 years was up, as in buyers looking for houses was up 60%. Which kind of made sense why the market was rising so quickly, right? Because everyone was desperate to buy. Some places did very, very well. London had a bit of a blip, but other places did very, very well. I've got a house near the beach in Hastings. Now, the tenants don't live there for the beach. They live there because it's in the town. But Hastings did very well in the pandemic. It went up 14%. And normally, historically, that town hasn't gone up so significantly. And so that made a big difference. And people wanted to get houses, right? Flats didn't do as well. People wanted to get some houses, get some spaces. If they were going to get locked down, they wanted to have some space around them to do that. People were getting furlough pay, and so that meant that they were still getting paid to be at home. Their outgoings were less because they weren't going on holiday, they weren't commuting, they weren't paying for petrol, and so that meant that they got more savings as well. So that was used for deposits, and all of this stuff together contributed to a big surge in the market that we've seen in the last 2 years. And so it's very interesting that 270,000 people are now property millionaires. I've definitely benefited from that, and maybe you have too. And so the average house price went up 50 grand during the pandemic, which is really, really incredible. And on average, people made £48 per day on property that they own. Imagine if you have multiple properties, then you're making substantial equity in those properties over that period of time. Not only that, interest rates dropped, so borrowing was really, really cheap, and we had a stamp duty holiday as well. And so those things combined just made that absolute surge that we've seen in property prices over the last few years. Now, what does that mean for us? Well, what it does mean for a lot of people, which is a good thing, is if the market does have a correction, hopefully they've made some equity since they bought. And if it does go back down, they won't go negative equity. Now, things are very different now between now and, well, compared to what we had in 2008 in the financial crisis. So back in the financial crisis, and the reason it was such a big issue was because a lot of people had 100% mortgages. So you could try and buy a house for 100 grand and you would be able to get 100 grand loan, which was insane. Now, when the properties went down in value, that meant that you would have to then find the difference. And some people just gave the keys back to the banks. They just didn't want anything to do with it. And that was a real concern. So I'm interested to know what you think is going to happen in the market going forward. Now, I've made a lot of videos on this No one knows for sure. We don't have a crystal ball. But what we do know is that interest rates are still low. There is still some demand. Definitely things are slowing down. Potentially prices could have some sort of correction this year or next year. But what is important to know is that it doesn't matter if you're an investor, if you buy the right deal, right? So if you buy below market value by auction, or you find an off market deal or a renovation deal or a property that you can add value to, things can still work. You can still invest ongoing through this recession and still be very, very successful in your property. Get some long deals with your mortgages right now. Take a 5-year fixed rather than a 2-year fixed where you can do that, because that's going to make life that little bit easier as well. I'd love to know your thoughts. Are you now a property millionaire from this boom? What do you think about it? Do comment below. Give me a quick like on the video. We're thinking of running a live event in London. Would you come? I'd like to know that as well. If you want to come and you're interested in getting a free ticket, comment below. If we get enough people interested, we'll put on an event in London for you guys and get to meet you guys. Do join our Facebook group. That's in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Go and check out this one right here.